Hello, everyone. I am Dr. Katherine.Kelly. I am a holistic health psychologist, author, speaker, and probably to me, the most important thing I am is that I am a soul healing specialist. So, what does that mean? So, I'm going to show you some things to help you understand because I just want to educate about how the soul really influences every aspect of who we are. So I have been doing mental health work for about 37 years. I've been doing soul work for about 24, 25 years. It's hard for me to remember. Granted, this is really why I'm doing this video is to show that a lot of the work that traditional practitioners do skims the surface of doing soul work, but it's really someone who understands the soul and understands how going to that depth of who the person is, the essence of who a person is. And I talk about the energetic essence. So, you know, out of all of the 8.6 plus billion people on this planet, we all have a soul. We all have that energetic presence of who we are. We're all trying to figure out who we are. That is the biggest challenge of the human condition is who are we individually and how do we keep who we are once we figure that out? Because there are so many different ways that the human condition takes away or influences us or hurts us or traumatizes us or fractures us. There's so many different ways that the essence of who we are is altered in some way. And so, as talking to you about the Soul of Psychology series, I want to help you understand the spectrum of different things that can happen and the different ways a person can heal from the soul level. Even though, again, a lot of it looks a little bit traditional, but a lot of it takes understanding the soul and understanding how to get into that deep essence of who a person is. Because if that energetic presence of who we are has been fractured or wounded, I call them energetic imprints. If there are energetic bruises or scars left on that soul part of us, we are going to misfire. We are going to overreact. We're going to underreact in certain circumstances. We are going to have experiences that basically are basically leading back to those original traumas rather than what's happening right in the moment. And that is why trauma work is so hard. That is why mental health work is so hard, is that there are some major missing links, as far as I'm concerned, in how traditionally trained practitioners are able to get at the deepest kinds of things. Now, like I said, I think we can skim the resources at the very, very base of what that soul base is. But when you know soul healing, when you understand the essence of the soul, you're going to get further. So let me show you some things that are going to help. So about 18, 19 years ago, I created what I call the soul health model. And now this was created to help people understand the 10 basic, most prominent aspects of the human condition that pretty much every human on this planet deals with. And so as you see, you can tell that one or more of these can be damaged and it starts to affect the rest of the tree. So it's a very interdynamic approach. It's a very interdynamic and holistic approach to understanding a human being. And without understanding that dynamic approach of how one wound can lead to another wound and lead to another wound, then basically you're going to be missing out on a lot. So this was where this first started. This is basically, again, 18, 19 years ago. And what I started to do over time was help people understand the essence of the soul. Now, I'm going to show you this one more time because in this image, the essence of the soul is basically shown by the hands that are sustaining the rest of the human condition tree. If the soul aspect, again, that energetic aspect of who we are, at that deepest level is wounded in some way, it's going to actually affect all of the tree. It's going to show up in one or more ways throughout that tree. And so this is what I did over time. I created what I call the soul-informed care model. And the reason I did this, again, is because most healthcare and mental health care is focused on the body and the mind. And so when you look at this, you realize that, people focus on the body first, and yet what happens is the body is the smallest aspect of who a person is. Yes, we can have physical events that happen or injuries that happen or illnesses that happen, sometimes dramatically. And those can be, not always, but can be direct impacts from soul-based kinds of wounds. And, this is where somatic healing comes in. This is where the body-mind connection comes in. This is where everything starts to filter down and realize that our bodies are basically reflecting what is happening from a deeper level in many cases. And I could give you thousands of examples of how I work with people to help remove those energetic imprints that then help them with particular healthcare problems. But then you see this model from a soul informed care model, and you realize that, okay, so if treating the body is not enough, what do? We go to the mind. We go to the thought processes. We go to the mindsets. We go to the patterns. We go to the habits. We go to the kinds of programming that we have, and we try to change that in order to basically get down to the bottom of what's happening physically, emotionally, socially, all those kinds of things. But still, it is still it's bigger than what the body is. So it's a bigger aspect of our beingness in terms of who we are as individuals. But it is not the biggest part, because when you start to understand the soul, you realize that everything we are influences the body and, the body and the mind. And so the soul informed care model is basically a new concept for people to consider, because if you are a practitioner or a coach that is trying to make positive effect in a person's life, but they're not getting anywhere, you have to understand that there's a lot more going on. There is something deeper that is going on. And in the courses that I teach, I call it the Soul Health Scholars Programs. They're certifications to help coaches and practitioners and educators and administrators understand the soul from this soul informed care model, to help them understand that when you hit roadblocks with clients, when you hit these situations and you don't get very far, it's because there's something deeper going on. Now, I want to give you an example, actually many examples of the spectrum of things that you can consider or should consider when it comes to dealing with the people that you work with. So think about this. Again, we have little things we can do to affect the soul. So those energetic imprints can maybe just take a little bit of reprogramming, and maybe it's a thought process. Maybe it's something that is somatically stored in your body, but you have to kind of learn how to release it. We can have this spectrum of different things that we need to deal with, and we don't even realize that we are affecting the soul in a positive way as we heal those things. The good thing is, a soul healing practitioner will understand right off the bat that, okay, yes, let's work on the smaller things. But if there is a situation down the line that's much more serious, much more traumatic, it's much more deeply embedded in who you are, well, then some more specific kinds of things need to take place. So here's where I start to explain all this. Again, you can have this spectrum of these little situations that you need to take care of, that again are kind of everyday things we just need to reprogram. But I want to give you some examples of the bigger spectrum of soul healing. Now, again, this is not what everybody does. Very few practitioners do this. This is exactly why I'm training practitioners to do this and coaches to do this, because there are some very deep wounds out there that people have that need to be addressed in order for people to get to the next level. So yesterday in my office, I had a person come to me, and I've seen her for quite a while. But she basically said to me, my father showed up this morning and was in my living room. And basically, I was watching the news in the morning, and she said, I couldn't believe his energy was there. Now, her father has been gone, had made his transition 8 to 10 years ago. And this is a person who is very spiritually minded. But this is also someone who has had a lot of difficulty and trauma in her life because of her upbringing. A lot of abuse, both physical, sexual, emotional, verbal, every kind of abuse you can possibly, financial abuse, whatever kind of abuse you can consider, she had. And it's one of those situations where I know enough as both a psychologist, but then also as a soul healing practitioner, that I know this stuff is real. So when she said her father showed up, I believed her, because energetically speaking, many people on this planet have contact, or at least have sightings of their deceased relatives or friends or partners or whomever, because there's unfinished business. There's something that needs to take place. So in this session, I immediately said, okay, so tell me about what happened this morning with your father's spirit showing up. And she starts to tell me, and she's like, whoa, he's here now. And so she felt his energy come right into the therapy session. And she said, he's here right now. And I said, okay, well, do we need to do some family therapy while you're sitting right here? And she kind of looks at me and she smiles and she's like, yes, let's do this. So again, a lot of people would think I was crazy. A lot of people would think she was kind of losing her marbles. But the situation is, when you know and you do soul healing work and you know intuitive work and you know that the other side is still very live and present, you know you can work with it. And so I want to tell you what happened during this session, and I want to tell you some other examples of how soul healing can make a huge difference in mental health concerns. So, what happened for the rest of the session is I had her actually talk directly to his soul and his spirit. And I had her tell him everything she wished she could have ever told him that she never had the chance to do in this lifetime. And I had her listen for answers, and she was able to hear what was going on as far as verbally. Now, I could sense his energy there, but I was not hearing his words because I don't think those words were for me to hear. I do intuitive work. A lot of times I end up being a medium for people because I can sense the spirits that have gone before them and give them messages. This situation was not about me. And it was basically a very tender moment between the two of them. And so, although I'm doing kind of family therapy in order to, help her, there was a spirit energy there and there was a human energy there. And so I guided her through the process. There were lots of tears, lots of emotions coming up. I guided her for what all she needed to say, what she needed to do to kind of clean up loose ends, whatever she needed to do to help her release. Very powerful, very intense session. And then we did some smudging work, we did some closure work, we did some grounding work. I smudged before she left, I smudged after she left. I basically put the energy into a place where we could make closure. And I can guarantee you that basically this is something that will change her life for the rest of her life. She will feel lighter, she will feel different, she will feel so much better and so much more integrated. And all of the previous work we've done has led us up to be able to do this work right now so that she could basically release this in spirit form, which is so powerful, to be able to go into this next phase of her healing. And so she gets up, at the end of the session, she gets up, she's kind of going, wow, that was really powerful. This was really good. And she turns and she thanks me. She's like, oh my gosh, Dr. Kelly, thank you so much. Thank you for what you do. Thank you for being, able to know how to do this. And she was just kind of going on and on. I said, yeah, it's just what I do. That's really what I said. And she started laughing. She's like, yeah, it's just a day in the office for you. And we laughed at that because it is a day in the office for me. This is the kind of work I do. I integrate into my psychotherapy sessions, into my soul healing sessions. I integrate them because basically you cannot separate mental health work from soul work. And so just because I know, what to do with this, it takes things even further. So we just joke, like I said, a day in the office, this is what I do. So I want to give you some other examples. A couple of weeks ago, I had a soul healing client contact me. So she wanted an Akashic record reading. She was beside herself because she had had an interaction with a ex-partner who basically she said, this person told me I could kill you if I want to. And she was kind of half joking, and she was in this situation where she was like, what in the world? But she felt something like sever her or sear right through her when that person said that. And so, passing by a few more months, one of the things that happened was she felt like it had changed her reality. She felt like she was being taken over energetically by this other person. So she called me to say, what do I do with this? I can't talk to anybody else about this. I haven't found anybody else that can help me with this. And so I set up a time for her to be able to come in, and so we can separate out those energies. So what I'm saying in this particular situation is that for something that could look like a mental health concern, she's losing it, she's losing reality. No, in this particular situation, no way. This is exactly what's happening. You can have negative or dark energies try to take over. And if you aren't grounded enough, you can lose it. If you don't understand what's happening and have a little inkling of what to do with it, you can lose it. Luckily, she understood that she needed to seek assistance in doing this. I had another person a couple of months ago, very similar situation, contact me and say, I don't know what to do with this. I feel like this person is taking over my soul. I don't know what to, I don't know where to go. I don't know what to do. And she found me. I actually don't live that far away from her. And so it was another situation of I had to help her, and we've worked together several sessions. I had to help her separate out her energy from that other person's energy. I had to help her understand what was happening. And I had to basically really remove a lot of those energies from her energetic field. So does every soul healing person do this? No, I have been trained in energy work. I've been trained in soul work. I've been trained in some shamanic work. I've been trained in some energetic healing work in general, past life work. So I have an integration of what I know that kind of comes together to help people. And so I can get in there and I can help people understand that sometimes there is deeper healing to take place. I also just had, literally today, I had a new client call me and say, I don't know what type of session I need. Let me explain what's going on for me. And she explained that basically she knows that there's something going on with her sleep because she's been having these very bizarre dreams. She feels like she's kind of moving back and forth from reality. And she said to me, I don't know if this is from past life trauma. I don't know what this really is. And then she mentioned a couple other things where these strange relationships in her lives. And I could, without even going in to do a meditation for her, I could tell, yeah, this is past life work. Energetically, I could just feel it. It was her energetic field was laced with it. And I said, well, without going into too much detail right now, before we actually schedule a session, I can tell you this is, this part of it is past life work. We definitely have some things that we can excavate so that it doesn't make you feel so confused and so crazy in these kinds of situations. And I could give you example after example after example of different kinds of things from a soul of psychology perspective. In other words, integrating the spirituality and the soul work into the psychology. I could give you so many, probably thousands of different examples of what I have done to help people. Removing energetic karmic ties with people, enmeshments, things like that. Helping people do a whole lot of ancestral healing work and releasing a lot of the ancestral baggage and karma that they've brought along. Helping people a lot with these very bizarre, very intense relationships that they have. And sometimes they're divine energies, sometimes it's karmic energies, sometimes it is twin flame energies. So there is so much that I do to help people understand how to decipher and how to bring all of this into understanding and separate out again the psyche from the soul. But again, this is a day in the office for me. This is what I do. This is what I love. This is what I am so happy to say that I can do. And this is why I want to bring this information to you and to the world. And so, like I said, I have these certifications that I have created, 4 levels of certifications to help people understand this stuff. I'm also creating specialization retreats. I am creating more online kinds of trainings and VIP days just to basically come together and have the information kind of deposited, and then you get to see what you want to do with it. But so if you are interested, go to my website, www.Dr.KatherineT.Kelly.com. Go to the Soul Scholars tab for the certifications. There's going to be more information coming about these specialization retreats and other types of things that we can do. But this is part of the soul of psychology. This is part of, again, the day in the office for me, and I want to help you understand this. So if you are interested, you can bring it into your own world from a professional standpoint. Or if you are someone who has some of this stuff going on and you don't know how to get to that deepest level, that you will soon have a number of practitioners you could call upon in order to do some of this work. So if you have questions, please leave them here or email me, however you want to do this, but please let me know how I can help you learn more about the soul of psychology and learn about how to integrate some of these modalities, because I'll tell you, the soul work to me is what it takes to do the true healing. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.